The gurus on the internet, they're lying to you. Honestly, I am just so sick and tired of seeing all these people on the internet selling courses, offering opportunity calls, just trying to teach this idea that it's possible for each of us to start a business and make $100,000 by tomorrow. Because let's be real, anyone you see on the internet who's an overnight success didn't come across that success overnight. Instead, it's been a consistent period of work and effort into creating whatever it is you see. And so if someone is telling you you can get rich quick, you got to tell them where to go. Okay, but without getting into that too heavily, I really just want to make the point that oftentimes when we start a business, we get really caught up in this idea of how can I make $10,000? How can I make $100,000? How can I make $1 million? Before we even make our first single dollar. And so the most important thing to remember when you're starting a business is that making money starts with making that first sale. And so today I want to walk you through 3 simple steps that you can take to increase sales in your business and start making more money. So let's go ahead and get right into it. First things first, and this one can be challenging for a lot of people, is asking yourself whether or not your product or service is actually viable. A lot of the times we get really caught up in thinking that this thing that we have created is the greatest idea ever, and the reason that we're not making any sales is because we're speaking to the wrong audience or we're not reaching the right people, when the reality is that maybe it's just not that great of an idea. Or maybe it's just not what the market needs right now. Because trust me, friend, I get it. I have a ton of great ideas, but that doesn't mean that everyone wants to pay me for them. So ask yourself honestly whether or not the thing you have created is what the market wants or needs right now. And if it isn't, that's okay. It's time to go back to the drawing board and try again. I don't believe there's such thing as failure in business. It's really just a process of trial and error until we can figure out what works. And trust me when I say I've had a lot of offers that have sold 0 units, and I have spent a lot of time creating things that people didn't want, and it took me a while to finally swallow my pride and recognize that not every idea is a great idea for everyone, and that's okay. Part of business is learning, trying, failing, falling flat on our face, picking ourselves up, and trying again. And so once we figured out what the product or service is that we're going to sell and that the market actually wants what we're selling, we can move on to step number 2, which is to figure out where our ideal client is hanging out. Now, I've talked about this in previous videos, but just as a quick recap, we want to make sure that we really understand who our target market is so that we can not only speak to them in a way that makes sense, but also so that we can share our message across platforms where they're actually hanging out. So an example I always like to revert to is Gen Z. If I have a product that I'm trying to sell to a Gen Z market and I only advertise myself on Facebook or only post in a free Facebook group or only create content for my Facebook page, chances are I'm not going to meet my target demographic because, let's face it, most of Gen Z isn't hanging out on Facebook. So we really want to get specific and understand who we're trying to sell to so that we can in turn take all of our effort in creating content, creating advertisements, making our marketing plan to reach those people where they are at. So I really encourage you to brainstorm, where is my target audience hanging out? Are they on LinkedIn? Are they on Twitter? Are they on Facebook? Are they on TikTok? Are they on Instagram? Determining the answer to this question is going to not only save you a lot of time, but will result in you getting a higher return on your efforts, which means you are going to make more money in your pocket. Lastly, and most importantly, which I have also talked about in previous videos, is to be consistent. We want to be showing up all the time where our audience is consistently. And even though you think you've already posted about your business a million times and everyone's going to be so annoyed, the chances are they won't be. And here's why. We tend to walk around thinking that everyone is obsessed with us. We think that everyone sees every single thing we post, when the reality is this is simply not true. Only we care about ourselves as much as we think other people care about us. And so if you make a post about your business every day for 5 days in a row, I bet Sally down the street is probably only going to see 1, maybe 2 of those posts. And so that's why it's so important for you to consistently be showing up and talking about not only what it is you're selling, but why it is so important for the buyer to purchase from you. What is the problem you're solving, and how is your product or service going to improve the lives of the person who you are trying to reach with your message? I say this in every video, but that's because it's so important. We always want to be coming from a place of service, thinking about how our product, service, offer can make someone else's life better. It really is that simple. Okay, so quickly, let's recap. I want you to make sure that your product or service is actually viable? Is this something people want to pay for? I want you to understand who your market is and where they're hanging out. Make sure that you're showing up on the platforms that speak to them. And then lastly, I want you to keep showing up. Be consistent in your efforts, talk about your business, and don't be afraid to keep putting yourself out there. All right, friends, that's it for this week's video. If you have any questions at all, leave them in the comments and I'll get right back to you. I'll see you in the next one.